Hey guys, Trigger John coming at you with I guess we're going to call this a Path of Exile video. This is really going to be a video where we talk about the 5 best league starters probably in Path of Exile, and especially how they pertain to, say, if you are a Diablo 4 player, or if you're new to Diablo 4 if you just came in. These 5 builds are going to probably be the easiest to start playing and getting into Path of Exile because they all have a few things in common. And one of those things in common is that they only take 1 to 2 buttons to actually come online and utilize their skills to kill things. That is so I shouldn't say that that's so much of the selling point, because in general you want to have a nice, fun, involved build, but because these are builds that require maybe 1 or 2 buttons tops, it makes easing into Path of Exile that much better. And it also helps you enjoy your league and your season a little bit better, because now you don't have to think quite as much and go, oh man, I'm learning this, I'm learning all these mechanics, now I also got to remember how to do this. It's one of those situations where these 5 builds are going to definitely be the carefree type of playing that you hopefully enjoy. All right, so first things first, I have the first build that I'm going to probably recommend to a lot of you guys out there, and that's going to be the Juggernaut Righteous Fire build. Now, why am I recommending this? You actually can see I have pohx's video pulled up here. He's pretty much the authority on all Righteous Fire builds, and honestly, he does a very, very good job of explaining them and how to progress and how to get them online, and that's what makes this a game changer and sets the bar above the rest. Righteous Fire is a build that, depending on what variation you're using, because there are several out there, whether it's Juggernaut, whether it's the traditional with the Kamehameha, like there's a lot of different variants out there that are all viable. It's not as if like the Inquisitor Righteous Fire isn't viable compared to the Jug, right? They both have their specifics. Right now, in this video that I have pulled up in the background, which I will link down below along with post channel, is showing some of the more intricate gameplay and what other buttons that you may utilize other than Righteous Fire. But the biggest takeaway here is the simple fact that with the way his build is set up, it's only 1 to 2 buttons that you're going to be hitting the entire time, and that allows for a very good progression and really a good avenue stream to kind of move forward and quickly progress the game while getting to enjoy it and have a little bit of fun. It's hard to quantify what makes sense on a Path of Exile build because these are so diverse builds. Like, these aren't the Diablo 4 type builds that you're used to. If you're a Diablo 4 player or Diablo 3, whatever the case may be, these have like where 1 or 2 gems will completely change and brick a build or make it god tier. Or if, let's say, you're running like a 4 link instead of a 5 link or a 6 link, like those types of things you notice a lot in a game like Path of Exile, whereas in other games you don't notice this. So that was Poe's build for Righteous Fire for Juggernaut. It's a very good one. A good buddy of mine's going to use that as his league starter as well, and he had already practiced it and got it online within a few hours, which is awesome. So it's definitely going to be a fun one to play for a lot of people out there who are wanting to get into Path of Exile. All right, so the next one we're going to talk about is actually going to be the Toxic Rain Pathfinder build. This is going to be a great Path of Exile starter, especially for players who came from D4 and looking to get into Path of Exile. And the reason why we're kind of showing this is, and this is actually Zizarin's video, which I don't know if you guys paid attention to. I'm going to be playing Explosive Arrow, and I'm actually going to be using Ziz's arrow build for that. But right here, we're showcasing the Toxic Rain one. The reason why is because this is going to feel very similar to the Rain of Arrows and Poison builds of the Rogues that played in Diablo 4. So that's why we're going to kind of mention it. Also, we're mentioning it because it's also one of those builds where, once again, you're hitting a couple of buttons with Toxic Rain and with, I think, a trap that you're going to put down to weaken them when everything drops. It's very simple, it's very easy, it's very elegant. Notice that he kind of just clicks where he moves and attacks, and then allows the quills to go behind him and kind of just clears everything out. Notice that what he's showing here gameplay wise, they're dying very quickly. Now, it's not like Righteous Fire or Skitterbolt, whatever, where it's super, super fast gameplay and you're like, oh man, I did this, that, and this. but it feels good. Also, leveling it is super simple, and that's why this is kind of a big, you should really look into this build, is because leveling can get hard sometimes. Leveling is it's not always the best thing, it's not always the most fun thing to do out there, and unfortunately in Path of Exile they need to do a better job of making that progression feel a little bit better, at least, and whatnot. But this build in itself makes it to where you don't have to do a whole lot, and you can easily go ahead and kill your enemies. It's very simple, it's very practical, it's a ranged build so you don't get hit as much. Overall, in general, it's pretty good. Now it does take some time to get done with some mapping, so to speak, but other than that, great build. Go watch this video and he'll give you more information on how to play it. All right, so our next one that we're going to talk about here is going to be Flicker Strike. Now, the reason why we're going to talk about Flicker Strike is, as you can see from the gameplay I pulled up here, notice that it's very fast paced. So this particular build doesn't necessarily lend itself to being comparable to a Diablo 4 type build. However, I wanted to recommend this as one of the 5 best starters because, one, it's easy to come online. It's very simple, where your movement skill essentially with multi-strike allows you to bounce off all the enemies at a very, very fast pace, which is how you do your damage. It also serves as a movement skill. I feel like a lot of Diablo 4 players out there were enjoying it, but they felt very slow. Like, it wasn't like D3 where you zoom around a map, and even if you had speed on your boots, on your amulet, on everything else, everything was very, very kind of slow in the long run. And I feel like that definitely negatively impacted a lot of other players out there. So I wanted to make sure that all of you guys know that are wanting to check out Path of Exile, like, hey, you can have these builds that are super fast and super quick, and they're very easy to come by. Now, there are a couple of things that get a little hard on this, for example, if you don't get quite the right gear starting out, it does get a little difficult to begin with. But overall, in general, once you get the build kind of set up for the most part, and it takes very little currency to do so, it's very reliable. And that's the biggest thing, is if we're talking about players coming from Diablo 4 into Path of Exile to have fun, or even just Path of Exile players who want to enjoy a more, I don't know, a more speedy type of gameplay. Let's say you just want to go ahead and you just want to blast, and that's fun and enjoyable to you. Like, you just want to farm currency. I totally get that. I'm kind of the same way. This type of build is going to be definitely for you because it's going to feel good and it's going to feel super quick. So definitely check out the Oro Sacrifice Flicker Strike. I'm going to have the build by Mage Fist down below. I've seen a few of his different builds. He does a very good job explaining them as well, as you can see in this video as it's popping up. So I'm going to link it down below. Use this video if it helps you with picking out the Flicker Strike build for your Path of Exile season. All right, so the next one that we're going to talk about, as you can see from the back here, this is one that's spinning around. This may look pretty familiar to a lot of barbarians out there who maybe did the Whirlwind build. So this is actually called the Cyclone build in Path of Exile. It's actually, this one technically is, I think, the Fire Oni Cyclone, I think is what that's technically called. It's a very cheap, inexpensive Path of Exile build that essentially uses Cyclone with physical damage and with fire to destroy and ignite everything. So that way, basically everything just blows up and dies. As you can see here, this is super fast one here. And really, if you watch with the keys down on the bottom right-hand side when he's playing this, you're noticing he only hits 2 skills almost. That's the only 2 that he ever really utilizes. One is the damage, the other one is kind of a buff, right? So it's one of those situations where this build itself comes online easy, it's quick to play, requires very minimal effort as far as the person playing it is concerned, where they just need to spin to win, so to speak, all around everywhere. And that allows them to go ahead and progress and achieve their goals. Now, mapping in these types of builds are super fun. It's enjoyable. You definitely feel tanky. You don't feel like you're going to die. And you get to kind of speed around a little bit with just watching everything blow up. It's definitely a lot of win-wins here. I would highly recommend this build as a very good league starter, especially if you are a barbarian in Diablo 4. All right, so as we are wrapping up these recommended league starters for Path of Exile builds here, one of the ones I do want to talk about is going to be Bone Shatter, because it is pretty much I think it's going to be the best meta build this league coming up here, and a lot of other people will probably agree with me when I say that. So we're going to talk about it because one, it is easier to play. Bone Shatter is definitely one of those that does feel good when you're playing it. It doesn't feel hard by any means. It's something you can definitely progress and do and kind of enjoy it. But unfortunately, it's also one of those builds where you kind of have to compete, so to speak, with other people wanting the same gear as you. Meta builds like these can be positive and negative, right? So this is going to be one of the best, most known builds out there that a lot of people are going to get to play. On top of that, it's also going to be the hardest to necessarily acquire gear for, because there's not going to be as much of it available for trade. And if it is, it's going to be kind of at a premium because it's a meta-like build. Now, Karn does an amazing job at teaching people how to play the Bone Shatter starter, as so does Alkaiser. Unfortunately, his videos were just kind of a little older, a little outdated, so I didn't want to go ahead and reference them. The content's about the same. Alkaiser is kind of like the GOAT when it comes to Bone Shatter. He's done it probably, I think, the largest, but Karn is a very good player as well in races, so he's very familiar, knows what he's doing. So I definitely do think that his guide video is going to help you as well if you're looking to play. But this one is going to pretty much be like more of a meta build recommendation, and this build type, it's just one of those situations where as a D4 player, getting on board with this type of a build is very simple. It's very linearly, it feels kind of like a D4 build in my opinion as it is. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one as well, and the link will be down below for this build guide as well to help you guys out. All right, so last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to bring up the one build in Path of Exile that I think a lot of players out there would have really loved to have been able to do, but unfortunately Diablo 4 killed in the game. And by killed, I don't mean that in a good way. I mean that as in minions and any types of summons in Diablo 4 are absolutely wasted and pointless. Right now what we're watching is, this is our boy Gazi. He is known as the Necromancer. He has all the minion builds, all the golem builds. He definitely uses pets. There's several different ways to play them. He's got multiple variants. Right here, this is actually the dominating blow Necromancer, which is a very common one. Essentially, it's going to use a lot of summons, keep basically an S tier type summon up the entire time, which is going to be a lot of his damage, as well as a couple of bossing type skills. These are very, very nice. As you can see here, he's trying to explain the Spectral Warriors, I believe. Yep. And these types of builds are fun because, one, for newer players who necessarily don't know mechanics, don't really know what they're doing, minion builds are supposed to be that one build where you don't have to know what you're doing. You just summon stuff and you let your minions destroy everything for you. Now, a lot of times we run into situations where in a lot of games, that's not necessarily the case, especially when we talk about games like, say, Diablo 4, who basically took all the summons, whether it was a necro, a skeleton, a mage, whatever the case, and just pretty much nerfed it to the ground to where it's not viable. In this video, you can see where Gasly's actually doing this at the start, right? He's not even doing like a high tier map or anything right now. He's literally doing the storyline and showcasing that it's very simple and quick to get online at a very early level. This makes this build itself, for a lot of people out there, very viable because it does come online so early, so quickly. Not to mention there's so many extra guides and support documents and videos that he's made to really make this build feel good, that it's going to definitely benefit a lot of you guys to go ahead and try this if you're very interested in trying a minion build. I feel like this is going to be an amazing league starter for the Path of Exile players out there, especially for those coming from Diablo 4 wanting to play a Path of Exile. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully those of you who played Diablo 4 enjoyed this video, as well as anyone who plays Path of Exile. Hopefully I didn't butcher anything too awful much. I have been playing Path for quite a while. I love the game, I enjoy it. I'm not a master by any means. I'm excited to make content on it. I'm going to enjoy it, and you know what, I don't care if you guys don't like the video. I'm still going to make it because I'm having fun and I'm excited to get to play again. I will be live this weekend on Twitch for League Start, by the way. Friday night, Saturday, if you want to follow me, come watch. I'm going to have a group of about 4 or 5 of us. We're going to try to blast through the maps, at least by Saturday night, ideally. And yeah, hopefully these 5 builds, at least one of them that you like or enjoy or makes you curious and kind of ponder. I mean, go download Path of Exile, go watch my other video where I talk about, hey, what other supporting stuff do you need to get to go ahead and play? And I promise you, you will enjoy it and you will have a lot of fun. As long as you find a decent guide, maybe take one of my recommendations, Trust me, you'll have fun, you'll enjoy it. That's gonna do it for this video. Hopefully you liked it. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe. And if you didn't, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you would have liked to see different, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.